Frank is already here.
Okay, we're good.
Good. Good morning, everybody. This is Board of County Commissioners' regular meeting for June 20, 2023. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any additions to the agenda today?
None that I know of.
None that I'm aware of. Okay. Agenda stands as presented. Constituent time. Nico, you were up, signed in first. Would you like to address the board? Make sure your mic is on and introduce yourself.
Check, check. Good morning, everybody. Morning. My name is Nico Wolf. I live on Needle Rock Road outside Crawford. And I'm not here to talk about the land use code. Excuse me.
Now I'm disappointed.
No, I'm here to talk about the property valuation process and present an item for your consideration. So you all know what happened with the recent assessor process. I guess the total valuation of the county properties was increased by about $1 billion, but nobody got $1 billion. This, just to be clear, I'm talking about just the process. Our county assessor, Ms. George, and her team are very professional, very helpful, and they're doing the best job that they can based on the guidelines that they have to do it. So I've been looking at this process and just see it's very absurd. According to Ms. George, we have 9,868 single-family residential homes in the county. And of those, 1,000 went through the data gathering. They went through a qualified sale during the data gathering process. So about 10% of the properties became the valuation basis. But then of those, 37 happened in June of 2022. So everything is based on what happened in June 2022, and we all know what happened then. Pandemic, low interest rates, people coming with places with a lot of money and offering $100,000 more than we could. So 37 out of 9,868 is 0.375%. So one thing I'm wondering is why do 99% of these property owners have to pay the consequences for 37 transactions? Now, I understand that's just the way it is. That's just what the statute says, everything be valued at this last one. And I understand that, when property values go up, people don't get money unless they sell it. But of those 90% of the people were not even on the market during that time. And a lot of folks do not want to be on the market. So people who aren't interested in going into that are paying consequences too. And then there's folks like, I've got some friends in their 70s. They built their own home 40 years ago. Actually, it's right next to that rock right there. And based on those 37 transactions, their property value went up $100,000. And they have to pay for this, but they're not going anywhere. They're staying there till they die. So, and then when they do die, their kids are gonna take it over. I know another lady, she's a 10th generation local. She lives in a house her great grandfather bought back in the 40s. 6 generations of her family have lived or do live in that house. And she has no intention of going anywhere. She's home, her family's home. Hasn't been renovated since the 70s. Yet those 37 transactions increased her value by $160,000. And she's got to pay for that. And so again, like, where does the money come from to pay for this stuff? Jolene's estimation, I mean, granted, there's a couple of different things that could adjust it, but the property taxes increased about $3.5 million. And again, I asked a lot of folks, like, did you get your letter from the assessor? Yeah. Did your taxes go up? Yeah. Did your income go up? No. A lot of folks' income went down. So it's what we really need and more is stability here. And the state, I did see what SB 22-238, where they attempt to mitigate the effects of the process rather than addressing the process. And so again, it's a state level thing, but I don't know what you guys can do in terms of sparking change in a process so that we can have more stability as property owners here. But one thing I did come across, I'm not too familiar with it, but you guys also sit as the Board of Equalization. And According to the statute, it says you can raise, lower, and adjust valuation for assessment. And so the item I would like to present to you for consideration is for those 90% of single-family homes that did not go on the market to consider equalizing their value to what it was 2 years ago, so that people can have a bit of stability in what was a tumultuous time, have an idea of similar taxes what they had before, and go forward. And then, and even in the 1,000 properties that were part of the assessment data gathering period, there was a sale I saw in 2020 for $300,000. And by the end of that period, it's already been adjusted to $450,000. So, and for those, like, why can't people just pay taxes based on the value that they put into it, or they saw as the value? So I'm not sure if you guys can do this or you're willing to, but I just want to ask you to please consider, maybe, maybe you can equalize values to what it was before and make things a little easier for people.
So just a couple of things there, Nico. We're bound by the same statutes that the assessors. Okay,
Right.
Those assessments happen at that time frame, and they have obligations as to how they have to assess these properties. If you look at your tax bill, you'll notice there are a lot of taxing entities on that bill. Delta County is probably number 2 as far as who you pay the most taxes to. First to be the school district, and then Delta County. Delta County, we operate on kind of a floating mill. Okay, so we adjust our mill levy. We cannot go above 18.3 or some crazy number like that. Currently, we're operating at 15. I'd imagine this next coming year, we will be much lower because of this valuation. So your tax bill to the county is not actually going to go up because we will adjust that mill based upon the revenue needs of the county, not based upon what the valuation of the property is. Okay.
Okay.
The challenge is these other taxing entities. Okay. Most of these entities have the ability to adjust that mill also, but some of them don't. So you need to reach out to your other taxing entities and find out if they're going to do the same thing. Okay. Some of them are probably going to take the money because they need the money. But like I said, the county, we will reduce our mill levy, so you will pay less taxes.
Okay, that's good.
Well, you'll pay same taxes. You won't pay, I doubt you'll pay less, but you're not gonna pay, it's gonna be close percentage wise. And we've had, I can tell you, the 3 of us have had a number of phone calls on this issue. And there's, for the most part, when I ask the folks, you're valued at this, would you sell it for this dollar amount? And I'm not talking about the people that have been there for 6 generations. I'm talking people that have been here a couple of years. So will you sell it for that dollar amount? And they say, no, I'd want more than that.
Really?
So Jolene and her team's done a pretty good job to try to keep it as close to market as possible. I understand June of last year, the market spiked, and that was just bad luck for the taxpayers in general. But
And inflation's going up.
and inflation hasn't helped at all. So, but like I said, the county will adjust our mill to help offset that cost. So you're not gonna, just because your valuation went up, say 30%, your tax bill from the county will not go up 30%. We can't speak for the other taxing entities, but yes, the county will do it. And I'm sure there've been a lot of protests, and I'm sure Board of Equalization will be very busy this year. So.
And that was another thought, like if you just equalize the entire class or subclass, you're gonna save a lot of time on hearings.
I'm not sure statutorily we can do that.
Well, according to the statutes I was reading, there was a case where they said you could do by class or subclass equalizing across the board. I'm not an expert. Mr. Bear would know more than I do for sure. And it was interesting. I mean, I understand what you're saying about the mills. And I think that's very good that the county would do that. But the notice of valuations that people receive, it says estimated taxes, and they're up across the board. So
and they just all they can do is estimate by the previous bills. So.
Right. Okay. Because I mean, what the letters we got said, this is crazy. So anyway, well, thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thanks for being here today.
Thanks,
Lovely
Nico.
summer day.
Thank you.
See you again.
Careful. Mr. Johnson?
Morning.
My name is Rod Johnson. I live in Mystic Mesa Road, and I'm just here to get an understanding where the status is on the process that you three gentlemen know we've been going through about converting what was made into a private section of that road back to the county as it originally was. So I'm looking for some enlightenment because time drags on and we're without a road.
Yeah, I think we need to confer offline with Mr. Bear here.
Okay, because I've been in constant conversation with Scott
Yeah,
and have given
and I
him,
don't want to cut Scott out of this, so.
yeah.
perhaps
You know, I've
after the
given
meeting-
him to pass on to the county attorney's office without knowing, you know, who
Yeah.
does what, but to the contacts that are needed for signing over the rights of that right of way back to the county. So.
It's unfortunate that road was taken, that the previous owner took that road over.
Well, I understand all that, yeah, yeah.
So we'll
And
figure it
so,
out.
but the whole, you've been through it. The whole thing is to turn it back to the
So-
county.
Let's get offline with Scott and John and see where we're headed with that,
Okay,
okay?
so,
Because I don't have a good answer for you right now.
yeah. When you say that, I just need to understand, are you talking about, after this
After
meeting?
this meeting, when Scott gets here,
Oh, okay, with me or without me?
with you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody online?
No, sir.
This computer. Was that a no, Lindsay?
No, sir. There's not.
Next is County Clerk, Renee.
I'm asking for approval on the minutes.
They look good to me.
I had no additions or corrections.
I didn't either. Minutes will stand as presented.
Thank you.
Commissioner business. Would you stick your head down the hall, see if Scott's here?
Yep.
We're going to skip to agenda item 4. Karen, come please join us.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
This is to ratify Commissioner Coon's signature on a contract. And the contract is from the Colorado State Health Department to our agency. And it is for 5 years. And the amount is $300,000, 309,336, sorry. And the purpose of this contract is for additional funding. When the coronavirus hit, there were lots of different kinds of funding available. And our state partners, the Office of Public Health and Partnership, was able to secure some additional funding for infrastructure. And this went to all the public health agencies across the state, across the counties in the state to help with rebuilding basically the infrastructure. A lot of people that they lost during COVID, mostly nurses. This is to help rebuild the department again. So the fund again is $309,336, and it goes from July 1 of 2023 to November 30th, 2027. But what's really nice about this particular fund is we can spend that money anytime if we happen to need it in the first year, or if we have enough funding, we can do it anytime during that 5 years. There's no limitations. But it is tied to a scope of work, and the scope of work is there, like all funding that we have. But it's very welcome, very surprised too for it. So
Any questions for Ms. O'Brien on this one?
It's a long title.
it is.
Well, I move that we ratify the chairman's signature for the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, Office of Public Health Practice Planning and Local Partnerships, Local Public Health Agency, CDC Infrastructure Funds, in the amount of $309,336 for a 5-year period.
Second the motion.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very happy to have this.
Yeah. We're going to jump back to agenda item 3. And this is declaring June, a proclamation declaring June 2023 as Immigrant Heritage Month. I'll go ahead. Don, you want to read this one?
Okay.
Thank you.
Proclamation declaring June 2023 as Immigrant Heritage Month. Whereas immigrants have vastly diversified and enriched the cultural tapestry of our nation through its history. Whereas immigrants have bolstered our nation and made it stronger, more innovative, and more prosperous since the country's inception. And whereas the United States, because of the Constitution, is a beacon of hope for all people over the globe seeking a better life and a peaceful future. Whereas we join people around the globe in commemorating World Refuge Day, a day when we recognize, honor, and uplift the strength, courage, and humanity of millions forced to flee violence, persecution, and war. And whereas the County of Delta honors the dignity of all county residents, regardless of nationality, and recognizes the importance of their many contributions to the social, cultural, and economic life of the county. And whereas the County of Delta recognizes the dependence of its vital food supply on the continuous hard labor performed by a largely immigrant agricultural workforce. And whereas immigration enhances the County of Delta's cultural diversity, adding a variety of abilities, perspectives, languages, customs, traditions, values, and cuisines that benefit the residents of our county. Now therefore be it proclaimed that during this month designated as Immigrant Heritage Month by the Board of County Commissioners, proclaim that June 2023 shall be designated Immigrant Heritage Month in Delta County, Colorado, and call this observance to the attention of all our citizens to encourage them to learn more about the social and economic impact of immigrants to our community and the state.
Thank you, Don. Renee, you don't have to have a copy of this.
The proclamation. Well, I move that we proclaim June 2023 as Immigrant Heritage Month as read by Commissioner Supas.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I. Thank you, gentlemen. I know my own ancestors immigrated
Where'd they come from?
Germany.
Oh, wow.
I got about half of my family came from Germany.
Hmm.
Anything back from Scott?
He is out of District 1 heading back now.
Okay. And
Leona's here for item number 5.
you want to wait for Scott or you want to go ahead and,
We could do this without him.
let's go ahead.
Yeah, we can do this without Scott. He's just giving him more work. Works better than not.
Hi, Leon.
Hi, how are you?
What do you have for us this morning?
Today I would like to make a change to our purchasing policy. I put a copy in front of you guys on page 4, number 2.2, moving to change purchase of goods or services 10,000 to 50,000, requiring the county administrator approval, and changing that to add an addition to the county administrator, the public works director. So changing it from just the county administrator to county administrator or public works director. Because he will be doing a lot of work for Road and Bridge, and the pieces and parts that they purchase out there can be pretty high.
I think this is a good idea. The whole purpose of the public works director was to consolidate the road and bridge and others departments and take some load off of our county administrator.
I will move that we amend the county purchasing policy and add the public works director giving a approval to $50,000.
I second that.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Sorry, Chair, I'll do just a little clarification. The board may remember that board adopted a purchasing policy in November of 2020. And that gave significant authority to the county administrator to modify provisions of that, which I think is reasonable. But this provision specifically, there's a couple, but this is one of the specific provisions. And I think that makes sense. Spending authority, the board retained to themselves. And that's why this has come to you today. And Leon, I'm happy to, I've got that draft and all that. I'm happy to update that and then send that out. But I'll work with you and Robbie on
Okay, great.
that. Sorry, just
Thank
wanted
you
to
for
clarify.
the clarification. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Mr. Seach just notified me that he needs a little more time and like to put these agenda items on the next meeting.
So we're going to postpone agenda items 1 and 2.
Yes.
Okay.
Ratify warrants. Does everybody have a chance to look at the warrants?
I'll move that the board ratify warrants from the various funds. Fund expenditures paid by warrant numbers 147653 through 148235 and ACH transactions 474 through 491 from May 9th, 2023 through June 14th, 2023, totaling $1,049,819.89 in accounts payable and $1,570,849.56 in monthly county human services and health department May 2023 payroll for items budgeted and approved per Delta County policy.
I second that.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. John, did you want to speak to the next 2 items, the IGAs with Cedar Edge, or are you briefed on that?
Or I can address them, doesn't matter.
Why don't you do it, Don?
I-
You want to do it?
I don't think I have those.
Okay, so we have 2 projects with the town of Cedar Edge that we're going to assist them with some asphalt work. One of them being on Northwest Cedar and the other one on Northwest Fifth Street. As you will remember, due to our agreement with local providers, we have to have a form of public notice. And these IGAs serve as that public notice, giving the community an opportunity to voice opinions about us using county funds to help out a municipality. The one on Fifth Street is estimated to cost, my computer's a little slow,
We both had the same amount.
we're the exact same, $46,987.26. Knew they were.
You want to do them both in the same?
Yeah, that's fine. I thought we were different by $46,987.26. Okay,
So Commissioner, if
please.
we would just pursuant to our understanding is just open it up for public comment.
Anybody online, Lindsay? We'll go ahead and close public comment then. There's none.
Then I will move that the county approve both intergovernmental agreements with the town of Cedar Edge for asphalt work. One being on Northwest Cedar for 1,400 foot and the other one for Northwest Fifth Street for 1,265 feet.
I second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Lindsay? Want to review schedule with us, please?
So today I have a work session with Road and Bridge at 1 p.m.
That's been,
That we are not doing those during the summertime.
I'll take
Yep.
that. June 27th.
Do we have health?
Oh, excuse me,
meeting?
Board of Health, June 20th, 3:30.
Yep.
Work session, CTSI annual report with Mr. Dave Foley, June 27th, 3 p.m. Work session, land use code with commissioners in the planning department, June 28th at 2 p.m. And that's all I have for the rest of this month. Unless you guys have anything to add.
and we've moved our next regularly scheduled BOCC to July 5
Yes,
because of the Independence Day holiday.
yes. And that's already
So-
been changed on the website.
So if you guys want to come down and raise a little money for the fire department on July 4th, there will be a dunk tank.
Anybody we know going to be? in
There,
this
there might
company?
be, there might be a certain person, you know, I want to make sure that the buoyancy is going to contain all my weight in there, but we'll see, so.
So on that note, a representative from Cherry Days stopped by late last week and asked if any of you would be willing to be in their dunk tank. So Dawn's already spoken for, so that leaves the two of you. You can think about it and get back to me if you like.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. July 3rd or 4th is when she asked. That's it for my report.
Now, do we have music at the fairgrounds July 6th?
Yes.
Should be the,
Yes, it is the 6th.
Okay.
6 to 8 p.m.
last week that band was great.
Corey's wonderful.
We have Club 20 Summer Conference in Pagosa Springs, July 13, 14. Is anybody going?
No, I'm not.
Probably not, because I will be going to NACO and like the week after that, so.
I'm gonna go to the Club 20 in Walden, 27th, 28th, back for community night that night at the fairgrounds. 28th is community night.
No, the 20, we don't, that's July 28th. I don't have that on my calendar yet.
I'll put that on all your.
Okay.
Let me find out some more details about it, since it's my first year.
Okay.
Anything else, gentlemen? Particularly for the next 2 weeks?
No.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'll go ahead and read the detention facility report. This is for Monday, June 12th, 2023. Male inmates, county jail 18, female inmates, county jail 12, male inmates, Department of Corrections 4, female inmates, Department of Corrections 0, for a total of 34. Average inmate population for the week of June 5th through June 12th was 42.68. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is with planning at 10 o'clock for an hour. We will recess until 10. Because we have online folks, we always wait till right sharply at the hour. So. Well, it is 10 o'clock. Commissioners will come back into session. This is time reserved for planning. Kate, we'll turn this over to you.
Okay, so the first application that your board has today is PLN 22-011 Mitchell Key. This is a final plat to accept right-of-way dedication to Delta County for M50 Road and 3700 Road, totaling 0.692 acres. The property is located at 36904 and 36908 M50 Road, as well as 12401 3700 Road in Hotchkiss. Both lots are completely developed. The purple hatching to the south illustrates the Gunnison River. The blue arrows illustrate all three existing and permitted access points for both lots, and the yellow hatching illustrates the right-of-way dedication for M50 and 3700 Road. With that, staff recommends that your board accept the dedication of right-of-way for both M50 and 3700 Road, again totaling 0.692 acres, and authorize the chair to sign the final plat. And that concludes my presentation.
Applicants, did you have, Mr. Mitchell or Mr. Key, did you have anything else to add to what Kate presented there?
I'm glad to answer any questions if you have.
Questions, commissioners?
No, I don't have any.
I just always happy to see the applicants here so they understand that they are giving up, right away here. And it's good to see you here and make sure that you do understand that. So.
Mr. Bear, anything?
Are you gonna fight the people that pick the wild asparagus along your new right of way?
We got enough fights. I don't need to fight asparagus
Now,
pickers.
I always said, they go, this is the right of way, we can pick it. I said, well, it isn't really. We go to the middle of the road here. We've had a lot of things, but I'll tell them I have to deal with you.
Okay, you tell them to call Commissioner Coons. That's in District 3.
Asparagus is overreaching government.
Commissioner, I'm happy to put together an asparagus agreement if you'd like.
On the plat.
Other than that,
Only if we can charge a fee for it.
There we go. New county revenue stream, asparagus fee.
Okay, for everybody online, that was a joke. I have no questions on this. What would be your pleasure, commissioners?
Well, I move that we accept the dedication right away to Delta County for M50 Road and 3700 Road. Planning, the application number is PLN 22-011 Mitchell and Key located in Hotchkiss. And authorize the chair to sign the final plat.
I second the motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done.
Can I ask one question, please? And I've talked to Kate about this, but the lender would want something in writing, and I got what you sent that Robbie had signed, but now it looks like y'all are going to sign something that I can send to the lender, and then they will sign off on the final plat. Is that acceptable?
So what they're authorized to sign is the final plat. The chair of the board will sign the final plat, saying
Okay.
that they've accepted the right-of-way dedication and the final plat as it is.
Will I take that copy to send to the lender?
I can certainly give you a copy with their signature on it, and you can give that with
Okay.
the memo of approval to the lender.
All right, that's all I needed to know.
Is that plat ready for signature, Kate?
I do not have a copy of it yet, so when I do have it, I'll let you know.
And we did sign the with one deed for the right of way. She's got a copy of it there.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate
Thank you,
you being
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
here. Happy asparagus. Pick.
You folks have a very nice day.
You too. Yeah.
Okay,
So the next application that we have is PLN 22-161 Minnick. This is a final plat to accept right-of-way dedication to Delta County for Bone Mesa Road and 3800 Road totaling 2.753 acres.
hang on, is there applicants here?
She is not here. She is working full-time.
Okay.
So she was
Go
not
ahead
able to
then.
make it.
Thank you.
The property is located at 37989 Bone Mesa Road in Paonia. Lot 1 consists of the original homestead, while Lot 2 consists of a smaller acreage with a building envelope for future development. The blue arrows illustrate the existing and permitted access points onto Bull Mesa Road. The staff report that was sent to your board stated that the access for Lot 2 had been partially constructed. The applicant has completed the access to county road standards and has obtained an access permit from county engineering for Lot 2. And then, of course, the yellow hatching illustrates the right-of-way dedication for Bone Mesa Road and 3800 Road. So with that, staff recommends that your board accept the dedication of right-of-way for both Bone Mesa Road and 3800 Road, again totaling 2.753 acres, and authorize the chair to sign the final plat. And that concludes my presentation.
Questions for Kate on this one?
Nope.
Questions?
I'll move that the board adopt PLN 22-161 Minnick, accepting the dedication of right of way to Delta County for Bone Mesa Road and 3800 Road, approximately 2.753 acres as public roads. The property is located at 37989 Bone Mesa Road in Paonia. And authorize the chairman to sign the plat.
I second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And do you have that plat?
I do have that plat.
We'll
Yes.
sign that at the end then. Okay. This next resolution, John, were you ready?
Oh, that's a copy of the resolution we adopted.
Yeah. John, is this something you wanted to
Um,
carry the discussion on?
Yeah, no, we can, Robbie's not here, so I'll lead this one. I think Mr. Lane has something he needs to state first here.
Yes, I'll recuse myself since we have a financial interest in the past with the family. So just like I did the first time, I'll go ahead and leave the room and
Thank you. Commissioner.
Yep.
All right, so this resolution 23R008 that we adopted for the PROC application for the wedding venue. I think perhaps the board was short-sighted in our stipulations on that contract, or I mean, on that resolution. Because we asked for fire department approval for an egress plan on the building. Probably not something we should have done, just because I don't think the fire department's necessarily got architects on staff to review plans, and probably not a liability that they really want. So, you know, there was a lot of trying to figure out how best to handle that. You know, Mr. Prock had contacted the county several times trying to find some resolution so he can move forward. He did hire an architect. The architect designed it with egresses to meet code. And quite honestly, that's where the liability should fall. It should fall on the architect that did the design, instead of on the fire district to come up with an egress plan. So that was the solution that the county administrator came up with here was an amendment basically an amendment to the resolution that would basically require or accept the architect's plans instead of requiring the fire department to come up with an approval of an egress plan. So if I have misstated something, I'm gonna ask the applicant or the fire chief to please come forward and let me know if I misstated or if there's something that needs to be addressed here outside of that.
Please make sure the microphone's on and introduce yourself.
I'm Bryce Atchley, Delta Fire District #1 Fire Chief. What we did when we were tasked with this is we reached out to the DFPC for the state. The state facilitates and helps districts, whether they have a fire code or not, properly make sure that things are conducted with inside their district. We coordinated with the DFPC and went through this. Although Mr. Proc's plans show that he has a 20-foot easement, that actually does not meet fire code based on the state of Colorado. It would have to be 26 feet. Also inside of those plans, we talk about water as an issue. And all those things were done with the help from the state. We coordinated and worked together on this project. I'm fine with being able to take on this part of the liability because I believe it's important that we do this properly and that things are done properly for the community and especially everybody inside that area. So although Mr. Prox had an architect do these plans, if you look inside of what we had red marked on there, they don't meet any sort of life safety measures at all. So Delta Fire Protection District #1 is willing to go to a bat here and say, this isn't done properly. And all other applicants that have come before in the past through the Planning Commission and through the commissioners, when tasked with, reaching out to the district to see what they would want done, have provided, those things, whether that be fire hydrants or accesses. Mr. Proc's really been the first one that declined to do so out of all the previous applicants, thousands in the past. So I don't believe that Mr. Proc should have, this special ability to dictate what he wants to do or not do based on life safety measures and whatever his architect says. It's his personal pony. So.
Questions for Chief Atchley here?
So in the egress that the architect came up with, what was found that was not compliant with code?
26 feet is what's required.
But that's the egress from the property.
Yes.
Okay, but you didn't have any issues with the egress from the building that the architect designed?
No.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if you guys have our copies that we sent over to Kate. You have red-lined items throughout with misstated code based on square footage and occupancy and what would be required for flow inside those areas.
Do you have that? I do not.
Yeah, let me just forward it to you real quick.
We looking at Plan 1?
Okay, so, obviously, the obvious challenge here is, we don't have building codes in Delta County.
Right.
So that's the the area we run up against is citing a code, and then when we don't have codes or an inspector, you know, the jurisdictional authority, that's when that question comes up. You know, the other challenge we have is, you know, we've approved venues like this in the last 4 to 5 years that have not been required to have sprinkling systems on them either since 2018. So, you know, I get concerned that we're setting a precedent here that we haven't asked in other cases.
Well, I can understand that, but inside of this area, you have a maxed out utilities infrastructure, which is a 4-inch water line. And if you look at the map inside of where this building would sit, you have multiple subdivisions that sit inside of that. We have no hydrant on that property. We're either gonna we're gonna drag line all the way across, shut down the road, and our main access to that property would have to have a fire line running through it to gain access.
We looked at fire hydrants, Don. In proximity to this location, and there are multiple.
So when you're talking easement, you're talking the easement onto Testman Road?
Yep. So if you look at your hydrant map, you have one on the corner of 1600 Road in Testman. And you have one inside the Snaffle Bit, and you have one off of 1585 Road. The access for this property, as we all know, lays on the corner. And I have a 20-foot access to get fire trucks, personnel, people in and out. And I have to lay a fire line through there in order to suppress any fire inside this building. There's no way that 20 foot's gonna be good enough for us to try to lay a hose, get around a corner, make a corner to get to this facility. Plus the size of the line is a 4-inch line, which under enough pressure, it is gonna collapse.
My challenge, I mean, I've heard fire districts talk about collapsing lines for, I've been in public office now for a lot of years. I've heard this discussion a bunch. And I get real concerned that, you know, that we say the only way any development's gonna be allowed is if we have a 6 or an 8-inch line. Then if that's the case, we might as well shut down Delta County economically, because you will not have any development. Because the water system simply can't afford to upgrade every line to a 6 or an 8-inch line. I can tell you from experience in water district that that's not easily attainable. I can also tell you that areas where you've had a 2-inch line and they've had to hook up to it, still haven't collapsed a line. So, I mean, you might cavitate a pump, but you're not going to collapse a line.
In those areas though, do they have a fire hydrant next to commercial buildings?
Yeah, plenty of places.
Right,
So,
and that's the discussion here with this one.
but. you
There
know,
is no
it's-
hydrant.
And once again, you know, that here's our challenge. We've addressed the fire hydrant issue some, and you know, the proximity to residences outside of this, it was one of the considerations. You know, if this does catch fire, you know, it's not like we're next to other buildings and those buildings are going to catch fire also. Okay, so that was one of the considerations that we had in this process. You know, because we all know, you know, sprinkler systems aren't necessarily designed to save the building, they're designed to save the building next to it. So,
I would say they're designed to help get people out of the building safely.
well,
That's where my argument would be with that.
and I'm not gonna disagree with that point also. But most of the time, by the time you get hot enough to pop a sprinkler head, you're to the point of evacuation anyways. So, but yes, I get that. That's why we have the multiple egress points. So,
Have you shared your red line copy with the applicants?
Yeah, I've sent them to the.
I sent it to Mr. Brock.
Any feedback from the applicant on this one?
I did not receive any, but I also forwarded it to Robbie and she's been communicating with Mr. Brock as well, so I'm not sure if they talked about it.
maybe let's let Mr. Prock have his time here and then we can come back to Mr. Edgley.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning.
Morning,
Go ahead and introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Zach Prock. You want my address as well, or?
Sure.
72015 Kinnikin Road, Montrose, Colorado.
Thank you. Mr. Brock, you have gotten the red line copies. There's concerns about the flow line and the size and the access to the property itself still. Have you had any thoughts or recommendations for us as commissioners on what to do here? Or
Well,
what you could do to resolve some of this?
I think the real frustration in this whole thing is before I started this whole application process, I reached out to the volunteer chief and tried to get some input from him, and he refused to talk to me at all and said that the only way that he would communicate with anybody is through the planning commission. That's the frustrating part, is there was no way to work through any of this ahead of time. So my only recourse was to then go and do the best I could do, and that was get an architect, which I think is licensed and probably, you know, the very best person to design this building based on what is available and what we have. And that's what we did. And so, you know, there was never any comment from him up until this point. There was no, I always thought the access was perfectly fine. We talked to the county about their access, what was needed for, you know, a subdivision that was, if that was going to be a subdivision going in or whatever else. And they said that I think it was like an 18-foot, and we just decided that we would upgrade that and go to 20 just to go above and beyond. So up until this point, there had been no input from the volunteer chief, and we thought that we were always going above and beyond. So there was never an issue. I did consult with some of the guys in Montrose that are on the PD. In fact, the gentleman that is farming the property is a firefighter in Montrose, and he looked at the access, didn't think there was a problem at all driving a truck in there. And what he said was the closest fire department or fire hydrant would have been in a snaffle bit, and they would just roll right across the field and fill up right there if needed to be. And he said that would be by far the best way to go about doing it, not in the access where Bryce is talking about. So as far as I know, I think that we hired the best person that we can, that architect, to give us the best input and to make sure that we have all the life safety, you know, places, you know, exits and stuff in line. And we're doing with a volunteer fire department that, you know, we don't have the fastest response times in the world anyway. We're worried about trying to get people out of the building, not necessarily save the building. And I think we've done all the measures that we can to make sure that we have all the exits. We added 2 additional exits after the architect looked at it, and have done everything we think we can do.
Commissioner, you got questions for Mr. Brock on this one?
I know the width of the easement was something that we had discussed when we first heard this application. And I know I mean, that corners on two other properties there. Is that the maximum width between those properties there?
I'm not sure where, I got a 60-foot easement from my neighbor that has there's like a little flagpole piece that comes in. We cut across his place. So I've got a 60-foot easement there. So I'm not sure exactly where, what the measurement is off of that corner and why where he's coming up with a 20-foot easement.
So. I mean, I'm looking at our GIS and it's not always accurate, but I mean, it's the corner, it's where those two corners of the property come together. And it's the distance between those two corners. And that's ultimately, that was the concern during application. The concern's been brought up again by the fire chief. And, the key is, if it was wide enough to bring a fire truck in and still get people out, I think there would be a lot less concern. And I can understand the 20-foot, you lay a hose, you bring a fire truck in, you may not have room to get people out off the property.
Well, I think when we talk, and maybe Kate can help address this better, but I think when we talk to the county guys about the road and bridge guys, they had said that if we were gonna put in a subdivision or we were gonna do anything else with the property, I thought that they said that we needed like a 16 or an 18-foot easement was what was needed, or road was needed to go for that. And we went above and beyond what they had recommended and went with 20.
So that would be a standard driveway width. So if you're feeding a residence, that would be a standard driveway width. If it was gonna be a subdivision with multiple lots, then it would be, it'd be a minimum of a 24-foot road width to feed multiple lots, plus right away on each side of that.
Okay.
So. And, the challenge we got, I mean, you got two ditch structures there that are the other part of the challenge.
Pole right there too.
And power pole, I think
Or that was just line of sight.
that's just, yeah.
Mr. Prock, is there a way to put in to physically fit a 24-foot road width right there?
I haven't actually measured it right there. I mean, to be absolute, but I think that there is that much room there, but I would have to stretch tape and double check it. The frustration for me still is that, Bryce was unwilling to participate in any of this all the way up until this point, and then now is wanting to bring this up.
That's not true.
I think that we're
Hang
backwards
on.
on things.
Let's deal with what we got here.
We're tasked with trying to come up with something that can try to satisfy both parties here.
I agree.
Understanding that with everything else we do in land use code, most of the time you're not making everybody happy, we would like to be able to see you put in your development. But we would also, we still want to make sure that it's safe for anybody that does visit your establishment.
I agree.
And I think with the egress work that's been done, I'm not as concerned about the building. I do have some concerns about the access. And once again, those concerns, I stressed those concerns when we heard the application the first time.
Kate, anything to add here? From planning?
I mean, not at this moment.
Put you on the spot, I realize that. Mr. Bear, any guidance here?
Well, I'm trying to catch up to the conversation here. And I'm scrolling through the 2021 land use code. And it uses different categorizations of areas. It refers to the official hazard area maps that are part of, those are internal documents, I believe, so at least that's what's referenced. They also refer to wildfire hazard areas that are maintained by some different outside organizations. It also makes reference to the wildfire urban interface. And I guess from a threshold question, what area is this particular development in? And so kind of what are the standards that should be applied to a development in this area? Those are maps are going to be defined areas, not type of use. So that would be a threshold question. I don't know the answer.
And honestly, those hazard maps really don't fall into this area here. You know, this is
At all.
no, because those hazard maps are, you know, where we have, you know, this is basically controlled ag environment here. So we don't have that, the wildfire risks here like we would have elsewhere. So those technically don't apply.
Okay, so then I would have to ask the question of are we applying a fire code to this? And is that an appropriate use of, or is that what the land use code calls for? So I don't know what the fire district, are they applying particular portions of a fire code to this development or any development, right? If we're referring development to get an approval from the fire district, which may or may not be appropriate, are we effectively applying a fire code? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what the fire district there went through. They said you said you consulted with the state or something. Oh, great, that's fine. So that's the second part of what is that? And if we're going to be doing that, then that should be, people should know that on the front end.
Well, and
And then the last thing I would say is this appropriate enforcement for the land use code, or does, and I don't know the answer to any of these questions, frankly, I'm just asking questions. Does the fire district have its own authority, independent of the land use code, independent of the county, to enforce any code at all? And I don't know the answer to that.
so I could tell you just from research that's been done in the past, we have, you know, the fire districts, they have that right statutorily to have jurisdictional authority on that. But that is something that they have to, you know, like you said, it has to be put up front.
Somehow.
Yeah, they would have to state, hey, we have this jurisdictional authority and we such and such group is the fire marshal, or this person is the fire marshal in this district. We don't currently have that. I know there's been discussion about that in the past, but we don't currently have that. So, we are relying on the fire department as a consultation agency in this application. I'm not going to disagree with them on the egress off the property as far as that egress onto Tesman Road. I can't disagree that they're not probably correct on that. Egress out of the building, I've got a little different feeling on them in that. But that's where I didn't know if Mr. Crockett actually measured from corner pin to corner pin, how much space was out there. If you could get a fire truck and a car, or a fire truck in, an ambulance out, or whatever.
That wasn't good guidance. Okay, those were questions.
Well, they are questions, but I think, sorry, I'm being a little flippant here, but I think that those are just fundamental questions of what is our kind of
Since we
What's
do,
the lay of the land here?
yeah, we don't have building codes, it's, I believe it's overreached by the county to enforce them.
Well, and
That's a state function.
by requiring an applicant, a developer to get approval by an outside agency, which we have to at sometimes, but sometimes maybe that's not gonna happen. And then what? I think that's what you're faced with today.
But yet, one of the authorities that the county does have is access to county roads.
Yeah.
And is there a way that you think you can fit 26 foot of ingress egress out of that access point by any chance?
I think that there's enough room there. I would have to really go and check. I mean, I know that when Road and Bridge was here and we talked about
Right.
what that easement was and what we needed to have and to do. And,
Right.
everybody thought we were in the right and we were good on all of that.
And I understand, I mean, I understand we're moving the goalpost here from
Right.
where it was before. And I would be willing to, make a conditional approval to this, amending this resolution. If we could get that 26 foot, that would give you your 24 foot plus a foot on each side of that. I don't know, like I said, I haven't physically gone out there and looked at it as far from that aspect of that space. I've been out there and seen it. But, in my measurements here on this, just from ditch point to ditch point, I mean, it's telling me 25 foot.
And
So,
I think it's very close.
So Commissioner, what would you like to do here?
you know what, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and make a motion that's gonna make everybody unhappy in the room. So, I'm gonna move that we amend the, approval of the application, and allow Mr. Prock to continue without, fire department approval of egress, provided he can get 26 feet of egress to Testman Road from the property. And so, I'm sorry, I put a little onus back on you, and I understand we're moving the goalpost. And I'm sorry, Chief Ashley, but we're gonna push back on you a little bit also here. So, but I think this is the best way to solve this issue.
So you're amending resolution 2023 or 008 with two conditions. One is 26 foot.
Technically, it's one condition.
Yeah.
The 26 foot.
So 26 on the corner, but a 20-foot road going to the back of the lot.
I actually I'd like to see a 24 foot, as long as you can fit two 12-foot vehicles through there, that would be the biggest factor.
On the corner or all the way along the entire roadway.
Basically, I mean, if you think about what it's gonna take to get a fire truck in and an ambulance out from the facility to Testman Road. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so you want a 24-foot road
Or driveway, yeah.
as opposed to a 20.
So just clarification, Commissioner.
Yes.
It looks like it sounds like your motion would be to modify, to amend. Sorry, where did it go? Is it number 7? That's what I wrote.
I believe so.
Here. Oh, yes, paragraph 7 of the resolution referenced earlier, but that also modifies condition 3 of the approval. And then I guess I would ask you to clarify whether you're complete. So are you only modifying the fire mitigation plan approval? Are you removing that or only in reference to egress?
we're going to remove condition 3 of approval from the district fire chief. And
I would like
at the
to
same time,
substitute that, actually.
it's my motion. You don't get a
I get
substitute.
it.
Yeah, you can offer an amendment to the motion.
I'd like you to consider this, that the fire mitigation plan is as designed by the architect with the applicant being fully responsible and liable for that plan.
Okay.
And that it meets state codes, however the architect and the applicant,
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, so yeah, we can basically add to that condition that Mr. Prock will build the venue out as per the specifications of the architect.
And the architect and him have the,
In addition to the 26.
In addition to the 26-foot with 24-foot access.
and running with.
So I'm gonna push one more time, sorry.
Nope,
So is the board approving an amended resolution? That's probably the cleanest. If you approve an amended resolution and then planning can build that in, and then it can be recorded, and then tell me if I'm wrong, then they can be linked, so it's clear
Correct.
that there's a new amended resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you capture all that?
For the most part, yes.
okay.
Renee, is that a cleanest way to do that then?
I think so.
So that
Okay.
they're
Do we want a resolution number then? Okay.
This would be resolution R 013.
Then I will revoke my prior motion and start new. I'm going to move that the board adopt resolution number 2023-R-013. This is an amending resolution for resolution 2023-R-008, in which the amendments will remove condition number 3 for the fire chief, but add to that condition that that Mr. Prock will build the building according to architect design, and that Mr. Prock, the applicant, will have a 26-foot easement connecting to Testman Road, allowing 24-foot of driveway to the building.
Wait, okay. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So be done. Anything else today? Planning?
No.
Okay. Thank you all for.
Thank you, guys. Sorry for the problems.
No worries.
We're running a few minutes behind. We have Annie and the Human Services Department. Good to see you guys this morning.
I'll go get Mike.
I'm gonna come back and sign this later.
Yeah. Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Annie, the big question is, has Leona been behaving lately?
She behaves most of the time. Last week she was real ornery. But you get to do that when it's your birthday, so.
I went to lunch with Tim McCracken and Everett Neal, and this guy thought they were my sons.
How many?
Wow.
So this happened a year ago on my birthday as well. And I left with like 5 of them out of El Tapatio. This woman said, "So nice that your sons take you to lunch."
Yeah, there's a lot of resemblance between you and Everett.
Yeah, I know.
And then Justin,
Yeah, and then Justin, you know, because they're
the
twins.
milkman.
They're twins. Yeah.
Danny DeVito and Ari.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's hang on.
Mr. Lane's coming.
Oh.
I hope.
He had to recuse himself from the last discussion.
Oh, I see. I wonder if he was just having a nice vacation.
Everett did say, well, I guess this means we're gonna have to start getting from other states.
There you go. Work it to your advantage. That's the key.
I would not let them take me to a Mexican restaurant, I don't.
That's a good idea. You never know what's gonna happen on your birthday in a Mexican restaurant. Somebody shows up with a crazy sombrero hat, and starts singing.
I've gotten almost every one of them, and you.
How attractive.
What's that?
How attractive. Do you have financials for us?
That's just looking at, I don't have the, well, I can give them my. Do they, when I have, I have things too, but you guys don't send them with your notes? Yeah, you do. Oh, okay, so you have the other financials on your.
Yes.
That's weird.
Sorry.
He was on, Mr. Chair, I say we go ahead and move forward.
I agree. That's-
On the financial.
Yes.
We're already running late.
And I just want to say also, we have an update. We have completed the job description for the budget manager position within Human Services, and that should be posted within the week. So.
I will be still doing their budget this year, so worry better. Not agree, so.
So Miss Annie, go ahead.
I'll turn it over. Go for it.
So the state is closed through April and Human Services books are closed through April. Technically, we have about 10 days left in the state fiscal year for the state of Colorado and Human Services. And the only thing that we see that may be over for the state fiscal year is child welfare.
Surprise.
Annie has submitted the mitigation paperwork to hopefully get that covered. I don't see any problems there.
The state doesn't either. They believe with where they're at that all counties will be made whole. So.
And so as far as calendar year, they should be no more than 33.3% expended. They're at 31.18 for the calendar year so far, so everything is looking good there. Again, you'll see on this sheet here, the blue at the top, food stamps dropped again a little bit from 689 last month to 657 this month in April. And the county portion of benefits is still low. They're at 7.3%. We don't pay for anything for student food stamps. This is the final month for the LEAP program was April.
No, there's still, I mean, that was the final one, but there's still payroll for May and there will be one final payroll for June.
Okay, all right, so they changed something then. They
It's
used
just,
to cut it off April 30th.
it was actually cut off May 1st this year because of the landing at 30th, I mean, on a holiday or a weekend, I think, or a holiday.
So other than that, do you guys have any questions on any of their programs or?
So we seen a little jump in core services here. I mean, it's not, looking over the last year, it's not huge compared to where we're at the end of the year, but
It's more of the county portion.
Right, so one of the big pushes is in order to bring down
placement costs and prevent out-of-home placement is to continue to build in-home services, and all of your in-home therapeutic services come from CORE. And
Okay.
so those increases are just as youth come to our, whether they come in through a referral or they're identified any other way, we are trying to get in as much services as possible. Now, those are services that Medicaid doesn't pay for. So we contract with about 40 or so providers, and almost all except for I think 4 don't take Medicaid. And so our CORE gets eaten up a lot differently. Small and medium counties, it looks differently than a Larimer or one of the big 11s, because they have just more options for Medicaid resources. And so they can bill Medicaid rather than use up as much CORE.
So that's why that rises and falls with our child welfare costs.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we continue to seek out providers. We just recently signed a contract with a foster parent, actually, who has been a foster parent for years, even before I think I started with the county. And then her parents were foster parents as well. And her drive is she loves to work with the bio families to get kids back home. And so she's always been that unique foster parent. So we worked with her to set up a contract where she's going to be a reunification specialist. So she'll work with some of those families that are struggling to engage with the department, or grandparents are struggling to engage with the department, and so help have reunification occur sooner. So
And
just
that's
things
part
like
of
that.
that Colorado Families First
Mhm.
kind of thing of trying to get kids to stay with the family rather than leave.
Yeah, the hard part is that when that legislation was signed, the intent was to have more preventative services. But Colorado had to submit a plan to the federal government that had to go through the clearinghouse for what prevention evidence-based practices they would use. We submitted our 9, I believe it was, and of those 9 in Delta County that we could draw down federal funds, we don't have a single one that's a service provider in this area to provide any of those services. So we get real creative in small and medium counties of trying to figure out how to match services that look that way. When you don't have, I think some of them, one we did do is PCIT, which is parent-child interaction therapy. That we did get a grant to fund 4 therapists to get certification in the next year to be able to provide that in our county. So we're excited about that, but that'll be the only one we have so far. So, and those will be covered federally without using CORE.
I see our subsidized adoption relative care is up, almost 20,000, 18.
Yeah, so we had, in last August, we had 12 kids that were adopted total on that one day. And then we had one in April. We had one in February. And then we have 5 coming up in this next probably 2 or 3 months. And then we have another 3 that are waiting on an appeal, which should take probably another 9 months to get that back. And then
Hopefully, wait that long.
yeah,
And
the last one took like
yeah, and also keep in mind, like when you're looking at the March numbers for child welfare subsidized adoption, they're paying for the number of days in the previous month. So April was paying for 31 days in March. The March payroll is paying for 28 days in February. So you're kind of rolling a little behind.
Yeah.
But there's 5 kids waiting to be adopted.
Yep, 4 will be adopted by a grandparent, and then 1 sibling is being adopted by an aunt, but they're all from the same family. Yep. It may or may not be a case that's on my caseload. So I've had that case for a very long time, so it's coming to an end.
Any other questions for Leona on these? As always, you do a great job on this. I appreciate the clarity.
Just leave, that's fine.
I'll see you at the health department meeting.
Thank you, Leona. The next piece we have is our general assistance policy. We previously, the policy that we had previously, I think was, gosh, probably 10 years old. Yeah, so 12 years old. And really we had never changed the amount. And so as things have changed, we thought it was probably a good practice to update that policy, not only for just the way that the application was, but also increasing a little bit of the amount as well as things have increased. So Lori can give you a little bit more.
Yeah, and we basically just updated some of the language since we were still listed as Delta County Health and Human Services. Where we switched to Delta Human Services. Excuse me. That was mainly a lot of it, other than what Annie mentioned, kind of just rewording some things.
We went from the $200 benefit amount to 300. We made the application easier to understand. And there wasn't much more than that. I think we may have added a service, but
I think we changed the language a little bit on, we have to provide meals for transients so that if they're traveling through the county. Then we can provide, I think that the amount of those be increased just a little bit.
and this is a policy that requests approval from the board.
Any questions on this policy, gentlemen?
Nope, look pretty standard.
On your Delta County resource list, it has county government, Delta County Human Services. Should that be Delta Human Services? I'm looking right down here on this card.
We're still Delta County, other than the health part of it was just removed.
Which page?
No, attachment 1,
Oh,
about halfway down.
oh, I got you.
And county government, Delta County Human Services,
That would be right.
would it?
Okay. Which one? This here? Delta County Human Services?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
that would
think
be
that's how
right.
we've always been listed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so, because there's Mesa and Montrose is also on there too. Resources.
Okay.
Any other questions on this?
I'll move that the board approve the Delta County Human Services General Assistance Policy and authorize the chairman to sign.
I second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And this will become effective July 1 of this year.
We also still have, we received a $5,000 grant from Rocky Mountain Health Foundation for $5,000, and so to use for transportation costs. And so we still have, we have $2,500 in $25 increment city market cards that we can use. So at times, if the request coming from a GA is just gas, that gives us the opportunity to use those gift cards instead of having them go through the GA process, because you can only get one GA a year. And so that helps out as well.
Has the pinch slowed down with the drop in the SNAP benefits? Are we still feeling that?
Well, I think it's going to fluctuate, and only because the issue is that we're now headed into all the redeterminations for Medicaid. Now, this is a very interesting process, because what the state is doing is they're sending out a checklist to families to fill out for your recertification, but it doesn't tell you when your recertification month is, and then sends out that separate notice later, potentially up to 2 months later, which I think is very confusing. And so we're trying to work through some of that, but if they submit a change, then that, and it's a dual case, that change can then affect the SNAP benefits as well. So you're gonna have some cases that need to be reworked and things like that, more than I think expected. As part of that, if someone brings in their redetermination on Friday at 4 o'clock, it has to be in the system that day, no questions asked. So there are some demands, I think, on the text that are going to be pretty strong, but I expect the number to change a little bit as all of those change reports come in.
Okay.
So, which can create, I think, some tension of, I thought I was just updating Medicaid, why is it affecting my SNAP? I mean, go
Right.
back and forth. So
Right.
we're trying to provide some education around that, and techs, I think, are doing a good job communicating But they still have, ICPUF still has the call center set up for people to call. I don't know if they've addressed if there's wait times on that. Haven't heard that, but yeah, so there's resources.
Primarily directing them back to the county. And we have three new techs that are still doing the training, so hopefully within the next few months, we have them on board and they can help.
Okay. Very good.
In child welfare, we are potentially at a place where potentially, gonna say it, we could be only short one caseworker. So we're crossing our fingers. We did have a caseworker return to the child welfare unit that had been there for 3 years previously. She starts again next Monday. And so that's gonna be really nice. She doesn't have to go through the full academy again, just had to do some training hours. She'll be able to jump right in to the cases. So not a lot has changed since he's been gone. So that'll be nice. And then we have a potential offer out as well. So crossing our fingers there. Up in the North Fork, we did lose our lead tech there. She's happily, blissfully in love, and we wish her the best. So we are hiring internally for that position as well. Especially because there is so many changes coming with the rollout of the new systems and all of those things. You really do need a lead role position to be able to give, Michelle even wants a break, to have somebody to be a backup for her. So
Michelle doesn't need days off.
Yeah.
Look at her go.
So, I don't know if there's any updates. Oh, adult protection, we did do our.
Annie, I
elder
did have
awareness
a
day.
question about the child support.
Sure.
The IRS tax intercept, from looking at that line across, that's bouncing all over the place from 8,500 to 30, almost 35,000 down to 24,000. What's going on there?
It kind of depends when people get their money back. So potentially when they filed, and then that intercept will happen. So if they filed late or if they filed early, so during that time frame, whenever that gets filed and completed and that intercept goes in, it can be kind of
So
sporadic.
it's a
that way.
timing issue on the, okay,
Yes. Yep.
go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was trying to think of, there was, I think in adult protection, we did the awareness day on the 15th. There was lots of purple in our building. So that was fun. And then most recently, we had, so I'm trying to think. Is it? Oh no, the APS meet and greet was the month before, huh? Yeah, so. One thing I want to bring to attention also, we hired that records manager position. So she's like 75 for human services and I think 25 for John's office to do core requests. She has digitized our entire child welfare files right now. So that the state was very excited to see. They actually had her get set up with several counties to describe that process and see how that went. And so they're trying to model some of that after what she created here. So we're very proud of her for that. Anything else you guys want to add?
It did occur to me, I was the Elder Abuse Awareness Day. I have nothing in my closet that's purple, so.
Now you know what you're getting for Christmas.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was looking through there. I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think I can comply with this one. So
Yeah, I will admit that I don't own anything purple, so I had to borrow a shirt as well. The last thing, thank you, Lori, for jogging my memory. So as part of our Medicaid incentives, one of them was that state was going to be sending out a customer member experience survey. And with that survey, the plan is they sent it out to as many people in the system that had email addresses that were located within CVMS, did a blast, and then we got back 86% reported that they were treated with respect, and 90% reported that they received services in a timely manner. And so we're pretty excited about that. Our next step is we have to create a plan, it's due next month, to try and engage more people to complete the survey, and that will satisfy the incentives project. But for that outreach plan, I think we were very proud of our staff, and to know that that's of those random surveys, you know, we didn't control who it went to, we don't get to see who it went to, but that satisfaction rate was very pleasing for us. So proud of that unit.
Very good.
Very good.
And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please keep up the good work. So
Oh,
many people
yeah.
count on you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. We will, I will pass that along.
Okay.
That brings us to county attorney time.
Thank you,
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair. Good morning.
Hey,
Commissioners.
wait before you guys take off.
Haley.
Oh, yeah, this is probably working.
Sorry, Gillian.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. All righty, so the first thing, I have two items for the board's consideration on the docket for this morning, or on the agenda for this morning. The first is the board's consideration and assignment of lease. This is the airport ground lease for the North Fork Valley Airport Hangar 151. This is from Jacobson to Jacobson. Mr. Jacobson, Jamie, unfortunately passed away this last March. And his daughter, Sophia Jacobson, is the successor trustee to the trust. And so this is just signing the lease over to her as trustee. Sorry, signing, basically she's signing as trustee, signing over to herself personally.
Any questions on that?
And I'll move that the board approve the assignment of lease for an airport ground lease for the North Fork Valley Airport for Hangar 151 from Jacobson to Jacobson.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So Renee, on these, I'll take the original, I'll record it, and I'll get it to you for the records. For your, yeah.
Pass that to Mr. Bear.
Thank you. Okay, second thing I have for the board's consideration this morning is a resolution authorizing the county sheriff to implement, modify, and rescind fire restrictions. The board may remember we had a similar motion or a similar resolution last year that had a time frame on it, which I think is appropriate in this situation. The sheriff and Chris and I have been working on a rewrite of the county ordinances. I mean, it's plural there. There's various documents, and so we're working on a rewrite. We've got a couple of drafts go back and forth for county fire ordinances. But in the meantime, we want to make sure if we're getting into the summer season that the sheriff has authority to do implement, modify, or rescind fire restrictions. And so what you have in front of you is, again, a temporary authorization. I actually put it out for a year, not put it out until next June. I would anticipate in the next, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. I'm probably going to be back in front of the board with a new ordinance, new fire ordinance. I think we'll be there, and that sort of thing, which then will make this basically nullable, because that's going to include, or at least what we've spoken about, is the new ordinance will include a permanent delegation to the sheriff for these types of authorities. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
You feel comfortable with that, Sheriff?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. As fire season approaches, we have meetings with every Wednesday, normally at 10 o'clock in the morning with all the state, federal, local authorities. And, you know, we hear, we want to stay in cooperation with other counties, Montrose, Mesa County, Gunnison County. So public isn't confused. going in one county that's under restrictions and the next county isn't. And so we get all that information and then that's how we make a decision whether to go into restrictions or come out of restrictions. So yeah, I feel comfortable.
Okay.
We've talked about this several years, so I don't think this is a surprise.
Do you have?
This
your
is a
resolution
good
book
plan.
that Terry has.
Um,
Oh, okay.
I think the sheriff has the contacts to make sure it's done
Make sure
right and the
we're on the
timing's
right
right, so I
page.
think this is a good idea. So.
I agree.
I would definitely keep the board appraised of any of those decisions.
In fact, the resolution says that you'll notify us within a day, so.
You're on record, John.
Right, it doesn't matter if I'm on record, that's what it says in the documents.
What number resolution?
This would be
14.
14.
I'll move that the board approve resolution number 2023-R-14, a resolution authorizing the county sheriff to implement, modify, and rescind fire restrictions.
I second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sheriff Taylor, in your previous discussions, is there any issues coming up over the 4th of July that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. Things still wet and green out there right now.
Too many more days like yesterday. It will be, but-
Well, we were actually having that discussion, that Mother Nature's been very kind to us this year. I mean, considering how much snow we had on the mountain and the fact that technically yesterday was really our first 90-degree day. I mean, some spots have bumped 90 for a little bit, but I mean, for June 19th being our first 90-degree day, we're very fortunate this year.
Still can't get across the divide road on Montrose side.
Right.
There's a snowbank across the divide right at the, well, it's about 2 miles in from the Mesa County. Montrose Road. Still covered in divide, but with this kind of weather, it should be over another week or so.
And I've been on Snowtel this week, but last week we were still over 20 inches of water content at Park. So, I mean, that's a lot of water that's still up on the Grand Mesa.
Scary thing is just in the last 2 weeks, the grass up on the Younger Padre went from about 3 inches to about 2 feet.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just,
Get that sun on it.
it's just blowing and it's just so late. Yeah.
We need to keep the livestock up there so they can help with fire mitigation.
Gonna be healthy this year.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did you need an attestation on the other document?
Yes, I'll bring it over to you. Sure, that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Anything else for the board commissioners today?
No.
Thank you all for being here. Sheriff Taylor, good to see you. Lindsay, Renee, thank you for all your help today.
We adjourned?
We are adjourned.
So your email about CPS.